Hello and welcome to the SC Playbook podcast out of NRL Supercoach round 13. Proudly brought to you by Mortgage Choice SCW. I'm your host, Tim Williams. Ladies and gentlemen, it is State of Origin Eve. Life is good, especially if you're one of the masses, the absolute masses that owned Dylan Lucas on the weekend. 87%, in fact, of Supercoaches had Dylan Lucas for his 147 points. One of those 87% I'm talking to, the Spy. How are you, mate?
Dilly Lucas, the boy can play, can't he? He made him look silly on the weekend, and the only thing that went against me on that front was I was within a whisker of VCing the big dog. Ended up, I got garricked again, boys and girls.
Garricked again.
Got to Friday night and I'd got the kids to bed and there wasn't much doing. I'm like, I don't want Garrick to ruin my night. I'll just put the VC on him. But I reckon it was either out of him or Nico for VC the next day for Dylan. But there was a world where I had Dylan, but not to be. I think I might have one-upped you regardless on that front because, you didn't own, did you?
Oh, yeah, that would have been tough, mate, this week. Also with us this week, as always, Matty the Waterboy. Matty, also a Dylan Lucas owner.
I am a Dylan Lucas owner, and that is about where the good news finishes for me. I'm slipping, unfortunately. It's been a rough couple of weeks, but it's all right. We'll get through this period.
Dig in, mate. Dig in. That's all you can do at this stage of the year.
Exactly.
Year 2 syndrome, Matty. He's got to fight through. Back soon.
Well, it is year 2 syndrome, but I'm going significantly better than I was in my first year. So, I've got a good team. I just had a bad couple of weeks. It's fine.
Yeah, well, Matty, you're not alone, mate, because if you were in the 13% who didn't own Dylan Lucas, idiots like myself, the Kuma Stallions, free fall's a bit dramatic, but geez, tough week for us, boys. 856 points, Spy. We dropped to 2,700th overall. We've dropped over 2,000 spots, about 2,000 spots in 2 weeks. And I'll be honest, I'd love to say that it was purely due to not owning Dylan Lucas for his 147 or so. Thankfully, I VC'd Fletcher Sharp for his big score. The boys just did not get up for it this week. It was ordinary, mate.
Yeah, they're obviously half a mind on Origin, even if they weren't playing, so it didn't help you. But yeah, my boys were pretty decent again, 978 into 1600th, so just etching forward. I'm in a pretty good spot because what I've noticed is I'm edging closer and closer to my gap to the top sort of 500 isn't very much now. So pretty excited, but just want to keep it going. But shout out to Matty Ryan, the poor bugger, had an absolute bludger. And how's this? This is actually stitched up. I felt so bad for him when I was chatting to him. I didn't even give it to him. I was like, mate, that's tough. I actually messaged, I said, did you accidentally VC Tom Jenkins? He's like, no. 2-minute voicemail back, blowing up. They actually named, I don't know if you saw this, but they named Jenkins in the centres. And he thought, you know what, bugger it. He's good in the centres. His work rate's up. Origin affected week. I'm going to have a crack at him. Then he played on the wing outside McLean and dropped that one over the line, which I actually thought he scored. But
that
anyway,
was very close, yeah.
And then other things didn't go his way as well. So I didn't say this to him, but I'm now about 300 points in front of him. So back where I belong.
Yeah, Matty Ryan was about the only thing that, not that I like to see his demise, I'm starting to gain a bit of a relationship that you have with him, Spy, with this bitterness. So I won't put it that way, but on a week where I was looking for anything to not put a smile on my face, but just make my week not look as bad as it was Matty's score, the poor bugger, because he was absolutely flying. He still is, to be fair. He's having a cracking year, but yeah, not the week for him because he didn't know Nico Hines, who was obviously the popular captaincy play. So yeah, that's an absolute spanner, and Matty will have to have a few words. He's a Western Sydney boy, so a few words to Ivan Cleary about the naming of Tommy Jenkins.
I reckon that's actually on a totally unrelated note. Shouldn't be able to do that if you know they're playing wing. But anyway, that's a different discussion.
That's a topic for another time.
Yeah, also, I did say I'm 300 in front of him. I'm actually 37 points in front of him, so there's not much in it.
There you go. It's a huge jump.
He's still going all right. Just felt like it last weekend.
Guys, on today's show, the Team List Tuesday Supercoach pointers, Tom Trbojevic is out. Huge news on what is already a tough week, the mini bye week this week. Spy, I think that with some probably inevitable Origin carnage to ensue, I think there's going to be some Supercoaches without a full squad this week.
Yeah, it could be tough. A lot of these rounds can be tough the weekend after the Origin game. So hang tight. If you are short, just know you're probably not alone, and you might have to play some people that you would prefer not to. But that's just how it is this time of year.
I think there'll be people with sub 18 players, depending what happens from Origin.
I feel like these rounds, like I didn't even think about these rounds, but because you could only play 13 last week, it was actually a lot easier. I didn't expect it to be this hard. with the 3 teams having a bye, and you still have to use all 17 players or 18 players and the Origin backups. Yeah.
But it's even... You'd argue it's even worse now because it's 18 and you want to have 18 to have the worst drop out. Whereas in the past, like, I get my 17. You really want 18, so you need another player in your squad. It's tough. Like, it's, as I said, there's going to be teams running short unless everyone backs up from Origin pretty well. Cam Munster,
which they might game one. You don't know. We'll find out, obviously, after a bell ringer tomorrow night.
We will. Topic for today's show, we are going to look at the Origin players. Lots of questions around holding or selling key Supercoach players. Payne Haas being the big one there. Potentially even a few buys, guys like Zac Lomax, Val Holmes. But yeah, we're going to go through the 2 team lists and the major Supercoach players there. Spy talk, things you may have missed. Hot topics for the show. Look, I had listed here that it was all around Tommy Turbo, but he's been not in the game this week, so he's out with a cork. So it won't be about Tommy Trbojevic in Hot Topics. Round 13 trade and skipper plans, and then wrap it up with a few listener questions. Guys, a reminder, the SC Playbook community and members of our contribute team will be getting together, heading to the Roosters and Tigers clash at Allianz Stadium at Moore Park on Sunday, July 6. Allianz Stadium have given us exclusive space at the American Express Garden. It's the stadium's premier beer garden. 50% off tickets for our subscribers. That link to the discount is in our WhatsApp community. If you're not in that, but you have subscribed, flick us an email at supercoachplaybook@gmail.com. That is full word Supercoach, and I'll flick you the link there. Our regular community, they also get 10% off tickets. I sent a link that out on our socials again last week, but also feel free to flick us an email. They're selling fast. The response has been unreal so far. So come along and fill that beer garden up. Spend the arvo chatting some Supercoach with the team and the community. Our Unlimited League leader, Nathan, coach of this team, Jet Speed, retained his lead in first overall. We've currently got 14 of the top 20 ranked overall coaches. Gamble responsibly, coached by Tom. He topped the week with 1,197 points. He's also into 122nd overall, so flying. Guys, if you're on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel, like the video, do all those things that help support the platform. Like and subscribe on Spotify, Apple iTunes, all those places. It helps us to tick things over as well and will be much appreciated. Spy, let's get into Team List Tuesday. And first and foremost, I believe every Origin player got named to back up this week. So we'll see what comes out of Origin. I will be doing my question and answer podcast on Thursday, and I'll talk about all the Origin fallout and injuries and potential team changes on that one. But for now, they have all been named to back up. The big one, Spy, Tommy Turbo. You and I both say dodge this one, but he should only be out for a week. The cork injury that he carried into that game on the weekend has flared up. So Lehigh Hopewadi's moved to fullback. Turbo is out. Should just be for a week. Same old story, but at least it's minor.
It is the same old story. If I've ever seen Tommy go down and be happy about it this week, 'cause he's not actually hurt. It's just a little maintenance week. Hurts everyone else and not us who don't own him. But yeah, obviously he'll be back in the coming weeks. Still plays some of those major buy rounds and could still be very handy for owners. But we just don't know with him. He's a week-to-week proposition. Who knows, mate? Who knows?
Was he in your trade plans this week?
He definitely wasn't this week. I made a call watching that game on Friday night that I wasn't going to get him. It was basically him or Tedesco. I know there's a big price difference, but something that's worth noting at this time of the year, we've already made a lot of money, so it's not all about finding value for me now. It's about chasing the guys that I really, really want. He's a funny one, right? Like I was watching going, he doesn't look great, to be honest. I was actually chatting to NRL Physio at the time, and I said, what percentage do you reckon he's playing at? And we both agreed maybe like 75, 80. Like far below his best, but still capable of scoring points. And he wasn't far off a few things going his way for a 90-odd. But he also got a pretty scratchy edge to run at for Para. Like they had ins and outs. It was a shambles, really, and he couldn't really get the job done. A few times he would have gone through in the past. He couldn't. He's good enough to score well, but he's not the Tommy of old at the moment. Maybe his cork comes good and he kills it next week and smashes, but no, he wasn't.
I didn't have him in my trade plans this week. He was also a watch for me game this week, and it was a case of wait until I see it. And even last week, I think, Supercoach, like owners will sit there and go, he was a Lehigh Hopewadi toe away from a 90-plus score on, 1.5 legs kind of thing. But as you said, it was a put-together Eels edge that lost one of the better defensive centres in the game, Will Pettensini, a couple of minutes into the
Yeah,
game.
rookie comes into the centres. He doesn't even play.
Rookie fullback.
Yeah, doesn't play centre. They had Jack Williams, who's playing the middle on an edge. Like, it was a shambles. Tommy, anywhere near his best, scores 180 against that edge.
There was even a couple where it was like just a classic 10 out from the line, going at speed. Tommy just pins it and runs through him and scores. And he was tipping on or going into contact softly. He's busted 4 tackles in 4 weeks. So the beauty of it is for owners, he scored well. And at the price, even looking ahead to next week as well, getting ahead of the game, obviously he's out this week, scoring still not an issue. I think at the price, with the buy coverage, he looks a great buy. I just could not bring myself to buy Tom Trbojevic even if it was available this week. And then with his injury history, see him get injured and just go, cool, I've got 480k there, Tommy Turbo, and I've wasted 2 trades on fullback. So
it's a tough spot at his price. But in saying that, he's a definite hold if you own him. And the only reason I definitely considered last week strongly to get him. But I've got Pappenhausen, Drinkwater, and I wanted Tedesco. I'm like, I don't have room for Tom at the moment. If he played any other position, I would have brought him in at the price for sure. But I've banked on Teddy, so we'll see how things come out over the next month or so.
Big watch in round 14. See how he comes out. Hopefully plays that week and looks the goods. Then, just becomes round 15. But a bugger for owners on, as I said, what is already a tough week. Jake Trbojevic still out for the Manly Warringah Seagulls. Toa Sipley's on the extended bench. Just one for any potential Jazz Tavunga owners. Going well, but also playing some inflated minutes for Manly as well, with a lot of middles out of the team. AJ Brimson named at 5'8" for the Titans. Keaon Foran on the bench. That's how they were named the other week, and I would imagine probably a game day change of Foran into the halves, Brimson to fullback, but watch that space. Jack Howarth on the extended bench for the Storm. Jackson Purdue, he remains at 5'8" for the Cowboys. Lockie Galvin gone spy at the Tigers. They have not picked him this week for probably pretty good reason, I'd imagine. Heath Mason, the fullback, turned 5'8", has played a bit of 5'8" in the past ending cup, I believe. He'll play 5'8" as it stands. Whether or not it continues that way, I'm not sure. But, mate, with the Galvin news coming through, I think that little 5'8" backup slot, however you want to play 5'8", Latu Fine is going to be very cheap. I think it's about $248K. Coming back from injury, not named anywhere this week, but just one to monitor for the back end of the bye period.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of him, as you guys know. I'm talking about him a lot. His injury history does concern me. He tends to find an injury, that kid, but he's a gun. He'll be cheap. So potentially someone to downgrade, but you can do that in round 15.
No rush, of course.
I don't think they play round 15, but give him a game or two and we can assess things.
Well, that's it. Hopefully, with a bit of luck, he's back next week and plays a game and starts at 5'8", and then has the bye, and then sort of around 16, 17 ahead of playing round 18.
Yeah, 16, 17, 18, 19 could be very handy.
Just one to keep in your plans, because he looks like he should be a good pick-up at some stage. At the Broncos, Reece Walsh has had a setback on return from injury. Selwyn Cobbo's moved to the wing. Jesse Arthur's to fullback. Interesting one for anyone who owns Arthur still. I can't imagine there'd be too many out there, but an interesting watch with Arthur's there. At the Warriors, James Fisher-Harris and Mitchie Barnett, they return. Barnett, well, potentially from origin duty, and pardon me, James Fisher-Harris from injury, suspension actually it was. Leka Halasima moved to the bench, which surprised me a bit. Could obviously change come game day, but maybe they just want to use him a bit more explosively and a bit less minutes. But yeah, it did surprise me there. A big one, Spy, for the Cooma Stallions this week, whose our numbers are okay, but I don't want too much damage out of origin. I've got to boost up my sleeve, but Tommy Jenkins has been named on the wing, a valuable number, because I was probably going to have to sell this week otherwise, which is fine. Break even to about 80. Paul Alamotti named on the extended bench. I haven't seen why just yet, but an interesting one there, whether it maybe dropped. I don't know what's going on.
And named in New South Wales Cup, I believe, so that's a dropping. Whether it's a disciplinary thing or a kick up the bum, I don't know, but yeah, it's certainly surprising.
I don't care, I only need it for 1 week.
Yeah,
so
but Jenkins was really good last week, so he probably only his drops.
Yeah, Scotty Sorensen returns and no Luke Garner still from that concussion from last week. Will Pensini, he's out. Jordan Samarani, he starts at centre for the Eels. Dom Young dropped with Rob Toya, named to return post-origin. Martin Nwanga and Nita Waze on the wing. Tommy Starling suspended, a big blow for owners on a tough week. Owen Paddy starts at hooker. Cannot wait to see Owen Paddy at hooker this week. Spy, I probably should have done it at the top of the show, but for people that are worried about their numbers this week, you said you're pretty comfortable. How many numbers are you looking at the moment?
18 plus Chanel Harris-Tavita, Jenkins, so I'm all right. I've got about 20 or 21 there.
That's good. I'm 19, and that is 19. I'm not going to say guns. Like, I've got 20 if you include Royce Hunt, who I'm obviously not. Yeah. I've got 19 players who I'll comfortably play, but that means playing guys like I'll cut one of them, but like a Rob Toyer, Sandon Smith, Riley Smith, Billy Smith. So Billy's probably the one to sit out if Origin plays back up. But yeah, it's one of them ones where like that's after my 2 trades where numbers are a little bit thin. So I'm expecting probably Cam Munster, and we'll get to this shortly, but not to back up from Origin. So there's potentially another one down, and a little bit nervous, but as I said, I think there'll be a lot out there who, with the Turbo news, the Starling suspension, all these things going on, that'll be running a little bit short this week. So, interesting watch. Spy, topic for the week. We're going to go through the 2 State of Origin teams and look at them, not from we will touch on their backing up credentials, but basically the ones, more than anything, that we could look to sell throughout the State of Origin period, and ones that we're holding. And then there's a couple in there as well that are potential flyers as buys. I think Zac Lomax is certainly one who's crept up as an option this week. But, mate, we'll start with the home team. We'll start with the Maroons. Kalen Ponga, the 2-day backup this week. You've already sold. I sold last week to Teddy. So if you're still a Ponga owner, would you... I suppose if he plays this week...
Well, if I owned any played, I'd keep him for sure. Will he play? I don't know, the Knights, I was going to say they need him, but they got Fletcher Sharp. Yeah. Maybe they don't. But if he plays, just hold him. See what happens.
Simple as that.
Origin could make him find some form again.
Yeah. So, if he doesn't play, I think he's a pretty easy sell, right?
Yep.
For the right person.
Yep. There'll be options. You can probably put him in the flex spot and change him to any of those blokes we can bring in.
Yep. Rob Toyer, another one there who's still relatively popular in Supercoach. You still an owner?
I am still an owner.
Thoughts?
And I'll definitely hold, I think. 2 reasons. One, set to make a bunch of cash Sunday night. I can only imagine he backs up, barring an actual injury happening there. And after this weekend, let's just see what happens, because he could lose his spot for game 2. We don't know. He plays the major bye rounds of 15 and 18, so it could be a handy number. Sammy Walker's back soon on the right edge. So I'm just, I don't want to rush him out of my side, but happy to sell for the right person. So I'd rather give it a week.
He's averaging 58. It doesn't even feel like he scored 3 tries this season.
Yeah.
Base of 35, got some power on him. So I think you're right. Like the neg 22 break even this week, he'll make money, provided he backs up.
Then they have the buy, so we get a free look into round 15. So just hold.
Just hold. Next one on the list, Valentine Holmes. Now, he's one spy that he ticks 3 boxes of conversation. Buy, hold, and sell. Because like he's averaging 74. He's an elite CTW pickup. I think Christian Tuipulotu back on the left wing, who I forgot to mention before, also worth noting. I think that's good for Val with his finishing ability. They've got a great combination. From all 3 perspectives, Spy, like what do owners do? What do non-owners have a look at him? What are your thoughts?
Well, I own him.
Oh, you got him. That's right.
I'm very, very reluctant to sell Val Holmes. Sure as hell won't be doing it in the next couple of weeks. He does run into the Dolphins at Suncorp next weekend, round 14. Love him at Suncorp on that fast track. Dolphins defensively can be frail at times. He then misses rounds 15, 16 and 18 at a minimum. So,
of course, Parramatta is wedged in between at Wynn Stadium, just to make that a little bit more difficult.
So, look, I'll sell him for the right person. And there's a few gun centres. Maybe Carraz is back by then, and it makes it easy to do. But in round 15, I'll assess.
If he doesn't back up on Friday night, like historically he does back up. Like I think he's been rested from the Cows once or twice, but the Drags need him. They'll want him. He'll want to play, provided he gets through Origin unscathed. But let's say he doesn't play. Do you sell this week?
That will be a panic decision. Is that Friday, Arvo? Maybe if there's a gun centre I want, I'd prefer not to.
You have the beauty, though, of having a pretty deep squad this week. I think there'll be a lot out there who can see his money and are battling for numbers and go, all right, I can move him to whoever the gun CTW is or whatever it might be. So
yeah, and look, I might even flick him to someone we'll talk about shortly who does play for Parramatta, if that happened. But
you will sell regardless round 15?
Not regardless. I'd like to hold on if I could, but I do know for a fact there's a lot of centres I want, so my avenue to them might be via Valentine Holmes, but I don't know if I want to rush him out, but I think it's just I'm just going to sit back and decide in round 15, see how my trade's looking, see how my squad's looking, see what my numbers are like for round 15. Yeah, hopefully a decision for a couple of weeks, but happy to sell in round 15 if necessary.
I don't have the stats I don't have the stats in front of me, but I remember last year because I sold because he missed a massive string of games through Origin last year, and he went nuts, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think certainly wouldn't buy with the amount of games missed. If I owned, I'd hold up until round 15 where he probably comes to sell. But as Spy said, it's depending on how deep your squad is, how you're looking, etc., and certainly pick up for after the Origin period.
Put it like this, if you own him and you're going to get a 0 score with no one to come in, then sell him for a gun centre. Sure, of course. No problems.
Cam Munster's an interesting one, Spy. I mean, it's as simple as if you still own and he backs up from Origin, he goes Titans this week on the Gold Coast into the Cowboys. They play on the Saturday, so it's a 3-day turnaround. Into the Cowboys in Melbourne. 2 great fixtures. If he plays, you hold. I think he's a huge chance of getting rested. If not this game, after Origin 2 or after Origin 3, whatever it might be. So he'd miss round 12, 15, 18 at a minimum. The Storm don't have any buys around that, which is great for him. Well, what are your plans with Cam Munster? And he also has that back-to-back tons, so he's got a break-even of -11, which is worth noting.
Yeah, well, he's going to make a heap of cash next time he plays. In good form, finding his rhythm. Again, I'll be trying to hold on as long as I can, but if he's my avenue to a Jaden Campbell or someone, then I'll take it when the time is right. But I don't really want to sell with a break-even -11, take that cash. But again, if your only scenario is sell Munster or Copper 0, then maybe bring in a Jaden Campbell or someone like that at that stage.
I think with that -11 break-even and the fact that, he's proven a season keeper, I think he's an indefinite hold and at a reassess round 15. And we just sit there and go, he could become Jaden Campbell in round 15.
Yeah, because he'll miss 15 and 18, as you mentioned. He also plays the Sharks in round 17. Not necessarily an easy one there. And could miss 16. So he's in the Val.
He'll rest at some point. So I think there's Saturday backups to Storm for a few of them. And they've got Tyron Wishart sitting there.
He's playing 45 minutes up the road this weekend, so maybe that means he just plays.
He could this week.
And they lock in the 2 points in order to make sure they can rest their boys later.
Yeah, massive chance. And I mean, Origin 2 is in Perth as well. So I think a lot of these club coaches will be sitting there going, we want to rest him that week. Next one on the list, who we got? Relevance. Harry Grant, with his hamstring concern, having played 1 game back from it, I think he's a huge chance at a rest for anyone that owns him out there. Tino Malawi, short turnaround on the Saturday, obviously the same game against the Storm. He has to play, doesn't he? The Titans are just...
Can't see him not playing. Maybe his minutes are down slightly, but...
He'll play less minutes.
All his buys are done by round 18. He's not scheduled to miss any outside of the major buy rounds. In short, he's a hold because he plays most of the games. The games he missed in Origin, they would have had a buy anyway. So I just think hold Tino. He's good. He's fit.
I'm with you. And he's obviously a season keeper with huge upside that he's shown off this season. And look, maybe rest after an Origin here, an Origin there. Lesser minutes are probably there as well, but he's still going to score well enough.
He'll probably score 60 in 40 minutes anyway. Yeah.
And that is probably... Oh, Bo Fermor is the other one. A good draw Supercoach-wise because the Titans have buy... Well, they had their buy last week and then a buy in round 18. I wouldn't be shocked to see him start tomorrow night, to be honest, in Origin and play bigger minutes. We'll see how that plays out. But what about Bo Fermor owners? A break-even of 113. I mean, it's similar to Tino, right? Like, for starters, as been named, he's on the bench. So he could play 25, 30 minutes, which means he probably plays 80 minutes for the Titans. What should owners do there?
Yeah, obviously hold if he plays. I haven't given a lot of thought to Fermor, but if he doesn't play, available in the centres, worth a fair bit of coin. There are some good options in the centres, so maybe it's one to consider selling if he doesn't play this weekend because what's he averaging for the year there? The moment?
67. He's scoring well.
67.
And that's reduced due to games at centre as well. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but substantially higher in games in the back row.
I don't know if I see him as a keeper in that centre spot. It is stacked this year. So I reckon if he doesn't play, he's the one I'd be happier to sell than the other boys.
Reassess after Origin and the minutes he plays. But look, if he does play off the bench, plays 30-odd minutes, he'll play big minutes for the Titans. Their edges are leaky enough as it is. So an indefinite hold for me. I give him a bit more credit. And I think he's, with his back row numbers this year, I think he's closer to a hold. Yep. And that is about it for the Maroons. At the Blues spy, we'll go from the top. Dylan Edwards not overly relevant. Not. Unfortunately for Latrell Mitchell, the Bunnies' draw is extremely hard. If he backs up from Origin, he's been named at fullback. I can actually see him potentially playing centre.
Yep.
Off the back of 80 minutes in Origin a few days earlier, and Jai Gray playing fullback. I think it'll probably happen, to be fair. Zac Lomax. Zac Lomax is a buy.
Yeah, I've got him as a buy here as well.
Yeah.
I want to get him in ASAP. Absolute gun.
The Eels have their buys in round 15 and 18 when he'll be on Origin duty anyway, so that bodes really well for him.
Yep.
He'll be doing everything he can to back up from Origin. I think he's one of them players that's a bit of a, I've got a point to prove that I can back up and get through my 25 runs post-Origin, so I wouldn't begrudge any buyers.
Yep. I just got to figure out how I'm going to do it. Maybe it is a Toya to him in next week. But
well, that's the other thing. Because of Origin, because he plays for the Eels, people are going to avoid, I think. Like, there'll be buyers, don't get me wrong.
Oh,
but
he'll definitely be in pod territory.
Yeah.
Which is also why I'm so reluctant to sell Valentine Holmes, because those guys with the upside and consistency and under-owned, it's nice to own them.
Nathan Cleary.
What's my notes on Nath here? I have got sell if required. The thing about Nath is if you're selling a centre like Valentine Holmes, you can find yourself a Farnworth, a Carraz, any of these guys who just go, sweet, I don't actually need Val back unless he's really blitzing it, because the quality of centre is so huge. The only person, if you already own Hines, you're selling Cleary to Jerome Hughes, which I do like, but he's just been a little bit injury prone this year so far, carrying a few shoulders and whatnot. I've got him in the same basket as the other boys. He misses 15, 16 and 18 because they've already said he'll rest after the Perth match. I think they go to New Zealand or something. Yeah. It's a long old flight. So I'm just going to reassess round 15. Do I need his cash? I want to hold him I want to use two trades, getting him in and out and messing around with that. But if it is a sell, then, to Jerome Hughes will be the one that makes sense. But he's a hold for as long as you can.
Yeah. I mean, if you held through last week's bye, you certainly hold for. They play Parramatta on Sunday, so he gets that 4-day turnaround into the Tigers the week after. The draw's good.
And they're last. He has to play.
Exactly.
It's like unheard of.
He'll play, he'll be fired up. And then, as I said, recess round 15. Jerome Hughes is the obvious replacement for him, but the Storm also have the bye in round 15. So it's not over easy. I'm thinking, depending how my team's going, trades, money, all that sort of stuff, I'm thinking like a potential him to Jerome Hughes maybe around 16, because the Storm, I think their buys are almost done by that time and you can get that run.
16, 18.
Yeah, 16, 18. So just a few things to weigh up, but as it stands, he's absolutely a hold for the next couple of weeks. One on Payne Haas, the biggest of big in many ways. So Payne Haas, he'll miss round 12, 15, 18. On all reports, he's going to be good to go for Origin. I wouldn't be too concerned about that as a Blues fan. Does he back up, though? We do not know. This is 12, 15, 18. The Broncos also have the buy in round 20. He's worth a lot of money, $842,000. What are you thinking?
I sold him last week.
So did I.
Yep. Saturday Arvo, I sat down, I can't remember what day, and said, you know what? I'm going to get rid of him because I want Tedesco. And I want Tedesco now, and I'm glad I did, even though Teddy only scored 68. Oh, my God, he's so good, isn't he? Like, again, you don't always fully appreciate until you own a bloke and watch him that little bit closer. He's just in everything. He looks fit. He was like a whisker from another 30 to 70 points the other night against the Sharkies.
Yeah, I had, I think, 14 going into last week with 2 trades, and then I had the Connor Tracy debacle in that swimming pool game on Thursday night against the Dolphins. He got 17 or 18, and then I had Dill Brown on Friday night who got me 20, and I'm like, cool, don't either of them in my score.
Yeah.
So I looked into it and I went a little bit reluctantly, to be honest, but I went to Adam Fanua-Blake and sold Payne Haas. So, but for those that do own Spine, there's still obviously a lot out there. What's your advice?
Well, this week, if he backs up, you can play him and see how many minutes he plays. If he's on reduced minutes, you'll probably then know that moving forward you can afford to sell him. If he comes out and pumps out another ton, you go, well, I own him. I don't need to sell him. So wait and see.
Yeah, I think
it's just so hard to tell with his injury. Like, what is it? How bad is it?
If he doesn't back up, I think you sell, because then he misses 13, 15, 18, 20 with potential non-backing ups after other games. Even if he doesn't back up, I think the minutes will be down. And
he's probably a ticket to someone awesome, or,
it's a lot of money.
Multiple awesome players for the buyer. So you'll probably just find if you're looking to sell someone, which we all will be, I think, to upgrade our sides, he's probably going to your man, which was what I did last week. I was a little bit nervous, but again, you got to. Yeah. Sometimes you got to sell someone to. Yeah. To make
if he backs up, and they do have the Sunday game, the Broncos, so he'll be given every opportunity to. put it this way. Madge will want to give him a break. Payne Huss will want to play, provided he gets
Saturday
there.
night in Sydney.
Sorry, Saturday.
So he does have to
7:35.
fly down. Oh, it's not a huge flight,
Yeah.
but if it was at home, I'd feel a lot better
It'd be
about
different.
him playing.
Yeah, so look, if he backs up, hold, play, reassess round 15. If he doesn't, he becomes a pretty decent sell candidate in my eyes.
Yep.
And that is about the brunt of the major Supercoach relevant players for Origin 1. All right, Spy Talk. Things you may have missed. Hit us.
Strap in, mate.
I'm ready.
You've been called out by someone.
Oh, which one? Bloody hell. Social media was a tough ride this weekend for the Stallions.
It's not
I'll tell you
about the
that much.
Bulldogs. It's not about the Bulldogs.
Okay.
Dylan
Lucas?
Our boy NRL Physio
Yeah.
has come through to my private mobile account. Also,
I've been called out by Fizz.
also known as my text messages. I might actually read exactly what he said, and I'm not going to be the one to judge here whether he's right, you're right, whoever's right.
I'm very curious to hear this because Fizz has got a bit of explaining to do himself, which I'll save for beers and break-evens.
Good,
but I might
good,
have to unleash
because
here.
as with Max Bryden last weekend, you deserve a response. But he said this, I'd just like it on the record, mate, that similar to Maxi Bryden stealing your thunder, Timo's flex idea regarding Tedesco came from an even smarter source. Haha, he meant himself. Then he screenshotted what he'd been talking about, and he reckons you then dovetailed into the WhatsApp contributors group and used his idea without any credit. We might leave it till beers and break evens to respond, or would you like to talk now? Because I read the text and I was neutral on
Because
it.
my idea was around, around...
Waiting to see how Turbo
Turbo
went.
went.
If Turbo killed it, you wouldn't get Teddy, which was very clever.
Here's what it is. If I'd already thought of it, which I'd like to think I wouldn't have felt the need to credit Physio because I'd have been like, I'm already doing that.
Yep.
However, and it's been a long week. It was a weekend of turmoil. I'm emotionally scarred from it, I'll be honest. There is a chance that I used it and didn't credit Physio's idea.
It is possible.
I need to finish this show and gather my thoughts. But
Gather your thoughts. He also said if you could set the record straight for me on the pod, that would be great. And he may or may not have said ha afterwards because he's so nice.
yeah, well, Physio's playing with a bit of fire this week after costing me Dylan Lucas. But I wasn't going to bring it up. But if Physio's going to throw shade, then look, fight fire with fire.
He's opened the door.
He has.
100% opened
That was
the door.
bold because he knew it was coming as well.
It's Origin week, isn't it?
Maybe he just thought, you know what, Tim's going to up me about Dylan Lucas. I'm just going to
Get ahead of the curb, or actually, what night was that? I think it was Friday. But it's Origin week. I hate Physio this week as a Queenslander, so I'll be mates with him on Thursday. But call him out, get into him.
No, let's give it 7-8 weeks, then we'll be mates with him again after that.
Do it for the Blues.
All right, what else?
Just a little note, totally unrelated to that. Just around buy planning, we've sort of touched on it, but it's so easy now to go, who's my trade-in, who plays the buys? Don't forget about your Lomaxes and blokes who might be able to get you your 150 this week and when no one's on them. Just want to reiterate that.
It was Val last year.
Yeah, I've done it in the past, and it's just the most natural thing to do is to target those numbers. But with only needing 13 this year, you might be able to still bring in a couple of Origin guns or one like Lomax and then still set your side around it. So keep that in mind. And finally...
Before you move on, just getting him up from last year, Val.
Yeah, let's
but I
see how
know,
he
because
went.
he was missing a staggering... So last year, he was missing a ton of games across the Origin period.
4 in 5 weeks or
let
6
me,
weeks.
Just you keep going, Spy. Let me work this
You have
out.
a look. I'll tell the people about the AFL Supercoach scoring system. The relevance is the weekly blow-ups about NRL scoring, which may or may not be warranted. I do have a contact at Fox Sports Stats now who's been very helpful to me and he's taken a few questions, so that's awesome of him. So I'll reach out with anything's needed there. The AFL scoring system, I've sort of done it very casually just for a few years just because I love my sport and I can keep an eye on things, especially when the Friday and Saturday night games end. 3 things they do, right? 1, it's the same amount of points per match. So the total score of the players scales up and down. So if it was NRL and the scoreline was like 2-2 and no one had got any points, everyone would scale up.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
So they've got like 1,000 points to give out or something across...
Yeah, whatever that number is. And it scales up and down based on how many points they've allocated, which seems outrageous. But anyway.
What?
That's what I mean. People laugh about the NRL. 2, and I researched this.
What's this AFL fantasy? Or
AFL Supercoach.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. Points are weighted and adjusted by the time gone in the match and the current margin of the score. So in NRL terms, if you scored a try but you led 30-0 with 2 to go, it wouldn't count for much. If you score a match winner, it counts
Herbie
for
would average about 30 this year.
Wow, that's like massive.
Yeah.
Or like a good handball or a good mark in the defensive 50 to save a goal is worth more than one in
Yeah, but
midfield.
footy terms, you score a match winner against a try when your team's up or down 30-0, it's scaled completely differently.
Yeah, which I'm not for or against. It's just very different.
Well, I mean, until you actually play it, and there'll be a lot of listeners out there who do play both NRL and AFL Supercoach, they'd know.
Yeah, so give us some feedback for doing that.
Let us know.
Do you love it or do you hate it?
Let us know in the YouTube comments for those who play both. What are your thoughts on it? Because, so you wouldn't know unless you've done it. Or on the video we throw out on the social channels, Twitter, Facebook, Insta, etc. Let us know what your thoughts on the scoring system is there. That's interesting.
Always interested in people's
Sounds
thoughts
awful,
around
but...
that. Sounds awful. Some of it I get.
Yeah.
I understand it, but it sounds very complicated as well. But just throwing that one out there. In terms of NRL scoring this weekend, just the one that I couldn't figure out, Tommy Jenkins didn't get his held up for the best tackle of the weekend or the year on Fletcher Sharp, which would have killed you.
Talk about a double banger. I didn't have Dylan Lucas, so I was already sitting through that pain. I'd VC'd Fletcher Sharp, so I'm like, you almost couldn't, how could you not score from that position? So, didn't score as my captain. And I had Tom Jenkins, who had his 3 ripped from him.
Ripped from him.
I needed those
ripped
3.
from his heart. So, look, I'm assuming it was just an input error. That's what makes sense. They obviously haven't gone, that's not held up. It's just gone into the system wrong. And they're probably focused on the try assist. And that would be my guess on that one.
Goodness, that was a good tackle, though.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. And finally, Fletcher Sharp, and not to harp on about Dylan Lucas for you, but just they are so exciting. Newcastle fans, it's been tough in terms of attack this year, and some thoughts around Adam O'Brien, but those 2 boys are unbelievable.
So good.
And I am going to genuinely have to do a live update at some point in my top 5 because those boys, I freaking love them, eh? I think Nico Hines and Kalen Ponga could be in trouble. Could be on the get-go. Still love those boys, but they're just knocking the door down.
He's from down our way as well. You know that?
Is he bigger way?
Yep.
Or huge? Although they're our rivals, but
We don't like the big Roosters, but we do like Group 16 rugby.
We do love Group 16 rugby league, so that's good to know.
Born in Bega, I think he played for the Roosters. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But yeah, so a bit mixed thoughts there, but
yeah, Group 16, but Bega. I mean, I also don't like anyone from Group 16 because we're up the hill and they're our rivals.
That's true.
But anyway, shout out to everyone in Group 16, best group in the Southern Hemisphere.
It is. That it?
Critter's been cleared.
Critter cleared.
Thank God for that.
That is outstanding news.
Well, that's what Fox Sports are saying. So hopefully it doesn't change.
That's my last point on Spy Talk. I was manifesting it. That's all guys tonight.
Very good. It was 2023. Sorry, not last year with Val Holmes.
Yeah, right.
And he missed round 13, which must have been Origin 1. He missed round 13, 15, 16 and 19.
So he played 1 game in 4 weeks?
Yeah.
So everyone sold him? Or you did?
I sold him. Not that many owned him.
Yeah,
I remember I started and I paid up for him.
Yes,
I paid up $724K for him. And he meandered and went okay up until that point.
Yeah.
And then I sold him then. Came out the week after Origin, scored 150 against the Melbourne Storm. Missed the next 2 weeks, came out, went 91, 117, 93. So, to your point, Spy, don't completely overlook them. That could be Zac Lomax this year.
That's him. Could be Val again. And also, if you saw there, everyone would have bought him after Origin. Then he got hurt 2 weeks later.
I'm pretty sure I did.
Trolling us. Absolutely trolling us.
I know. Anywho, moving on. Guys, it has happened. We've had another rate cut. It's time to get bloody excited about it too. This means a few different things for our listeners. Could be the perfect time to refinance and save money on your loan, or if you're looking to get into the housing market, it'll allow you to borrow more money to kickstart your property journey. Reach out to Paddy and his team at Mortgage Choice SCW and start asking a few questions to find out exactly what this means to you. Normally, that'd sting you $129, but mention SC Playbook when you reach out and it's completely free of charge. A bit of quick math, that is 100% discount, so not too shabby at all. Flick the team a message on Instagram at mortgagechoice_SCW, or you can buzz them on 02 9521 1611. Doesn't matter where you're based in Australia if you want to make that call.
So 100% off, that's like the percentage equivalent of getting a house for free. They're both 100% off.
It's like if Supercoach said to you, will give you Dylan Lucas in your team for $0.
Yep, 100% off. It's all happening.
Not bad. Hard to pass up.
Not bad at all.
Alrighty, hot topics for today's show. Number one most traded in player by Keaon Koloamatangi, 612k, a break even of 21, 62 point per game average. Scores since moving to the middle where he is a different beast. 104 and 72 points in the past 2 weeks for him. 2 games, I should say. That score of 104 against the Tigers in Campbelltown in the wet. The highest base of any player in Supercoach history with 96. Shout out to Rando Stats Guy for that one. The third highest of all time was Tamale in the same game. Unbelievable.
Wow.
What do you think inspired by?
A must. Plays every game between now and round 19. Could force him away into Origin, whatever it may be, but by that stage he'll have made some coin.
Origin is a genuine concern, especially if the Blues get done tomorrow night and say a Maxi King or someone doesn't perform or there's any injuries.
Yeah.
He could very well be nearly next cab off the rank in the middle forwards. Nonetheless,
he'd be off the bench anyway for Origin,
yes,
and he'd still back up and play good minutes, I think. So I just think he's a must. Don't overthink it. Get him in.
Number 2 is not Tom Trbojevic anymore. So you can actually probably put one less on all these. Number 5, Ewan Aitken, 534k. Matty, I'll throw to you for this one. Ewan at 534k, Jules CT Dub, 2RF, 58 point per game average with a break even of 18. Now, I'm interested in Ewan Aitken this week. How's that job security as an 80-minute man on the edge?
I think there is next to no chance he'll be moving. He's been one of our best players this year. He started at centre because South was so decimated, and to be fair, they still kind of are. But I think it's working with Arrow and Koloamatangi in the front row. Ewan Aitken is absolutely killing it. So if they're going to move anyone, they'll move Tallis Duncan, I reckon, first. So it's very unlikely he'll move from that spot, in my opinion.
All right. What are your thoughts, Spy?
I do like Ewan, and I like him a lot.
You're a former Ewan owner from memory.
Yeah, I owned him in my best years, so there's always a bit of heartfelt respect there. He actually got hurt the last round for me, though. Might have cost me top 80, so maybe I'm off him. I don't know if there's room for him. This sounds outrageous. Just looking at my centres, right? So we'll take my team as an example. I've got Dylan Lucas, Fletcher Sharp, Holmes, Garrick, Iro, Toya, and Jenkins. So Toya and Jenkins can be upgraded, sure. But the guys not currently in my side include Kiraz, Lomax, Markey on the wing there for the Roosters, Nwanga Nitawase, Tui Pilotu, Herbie Farnworth's not in there. So I'm like, it's all good buying him, right? But just make sure you're not missing out on someone that you really, really want.
RF,
you could. Exactly. I was going to get there. Give me a moment. 2RF. Got to check out who you've got there as well, because if I look at my side, there's no one I could drop for him, so it doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
But yes, if he fits your side, plays the next 6 weeks or so, does have an injury history, so that makes me a little bit nervous, but he looks pretty rock solid just to do a job for you throughout the bye period.
Yeah, NRL Physio has been a staple of beers and break-evens this season, unfortunately last week, but I've put in a special request for him this week to talk about Ewan Aitken's injury history, because I'm keen on him, but he does concern me that he misses a lot of footy. So whether he's in that sort of category of injury prone, are there chances of does it happen for a reason? Has he been unlucky? What's it like? So going to get a bit of info on that, but the numbers are good, Spy. As I said, dual 2RF CT dub, 3 80-minute games on the edge this season, averaging 72.3 points in those games, with 59 in base. As an 80-minute man at the Dolphins last season, he averaged 60 points per game with a tick over 50 in base. There was only 2 tries in 15 games there. He's damn good. He'll score tries. Like, he's a very, very good footballer.
He's a safe watch. Like, if you take out that injury history, then he's safe. He does the job. Just make sure you're not taking up a roster position that you might need. For me, if I go Jenkins, for example, to Ewan Aitken, just as an example, I then take away a lot of my coin to get those centres that I've just spoken about. So I think it might be individual circumstances. Super safe on the field, but you need him on the field is my only knock. Maybe you buy him round 15 in a couple of weeks and make sure he's healthy.
Number 6, Ezra Mam, 494k. 1 game back, went huge with 128 points, negative 20 break even. Spy, Ezra Mam looked outstanding in that game. He's never been Supercoach relevant. Averages of, I think, early 50s in the past 2 seasons. He's only played 1 game. You won't get a price change. They've got the bye in round 15, I believe it is, the Broncos. I'll double check that. I don't know why you'd go this week.
Speaking of individual scenarios, the only reason you'd go is me. I've got Chanel Harris-Tavita, who's just played the major buy for me, doesn't play 15 and 18, and he's about the same price. I could just jump on, take the price rises in coming weeks and see how he's going.
Do you have Jaden Campbell?
No, I got Munster and Chanel. So, again, it's a roster spot I'm taking up on a Jaden Campbell. So, history of Ezra says he scored 3 tries in half an hour in a grand final. He's capable of it, but every other game he's just been, okay?
He averaged 51 last year, 52 the year before, and 55 back in 2022.
Yeah, so you're getting 50 from him. If you don't take the one game as he's improved. You take 2 or 3. So
he won't change in price. So just need to go there. Maybe next week.
But watch him because he looked awesome. Maybe
he's
just come back with some fire and something to prove. So
in that cup game on return as well, he was huge too. So maybe, but I just don't think you do it this week.
Yep.
And moving down the list, number 8, Jordan Samarani. I think he's probably gone up a little bit in stock as well. Named to start again at centre this week. 368k, 49 point per game average, and -9 break even. Spy, I didn't understand the buy last week. I stand by it this week because Pensini got injured. So he's now starting at centre again. Pensini will return next week. The Eels don't cover 15 or 18. He's getting a bit awkwardly priced at 368k. He's very good. If he locks down a starting spot, sure, but does he not just go back to a bench role next week? Or unless something's changed with Riles and you've not seen enough and you're a starter, in which case, sweet, but...
Seems pretty risky, doesn't it?
Does to me.
This time of year.
No buy coverage. Well, we've got the mini buys, but...
Yeah, look, it could pay off, sure, but... other options will bob up.
One that I was slightly more interested in was number 13. If you're looking to free up cash, Kyle McCarthy at 246k at the Newcastle Knights, a 43 point per game average, 51 points last week with 46 in base. He has a -7 break even. What's your thoughts on Kyle McCarthy?
I'm currently looking at him in my 7th centre position, so I like him. Bradman Best says he's due back around 15, but he's had a very bad history of hammies lately. Physio himself seemed to think it wasn't great. He could be out longer. He plays like all the games.
He's meant to be
nearly
out for a fair while.
Yeah. McCarthy could be someone to play it very cheap, who's capable of scoring for you. Left centre's not a bad spot. I like it in the free up the cash department. Yeah, because if we'll get to it in my trades, but I can free up cash and allow me to do other things in coming weeks. I think he could be good. Yeah,
very interesting watch, I think. So, well, more than a watch, it's like you buy him this week if you're doing it. No Greg Marju this week is the only thing, but even then...
Well, he's a centre and
don't
Fletcher
think he's the one that
Hunt's
drops out.
a winger, isn't he? So, yeah.
I think it'd be Fletcher Hunt, not Kyle McCarthy, to drop out. So, I don't mind it.
Yeah, I'm getting around it a bit at the moment.
Yeah. Guys, for less than sells. Not subscription sells, player sells.
Yeah, don't sell. Hold.
Yeah, hold. Number 3, Corey Horsburgh, 524k. Dual to our front row forward, 61 point per game average, 64 break even, snubbed by the Maroons. Spy, I was filthy. I sold him 2 weeks ago thinking he'd get picked for the Maroons. He didn't. Did not play out well for him in New Zealand. Awful conditions. He had a sin bin involved in his 40-odd points. With round 18 coverage, I don't know. He just looks like the perfect hold for me through the bye period ahead of round 18 and plug and play when you need to. I wouldn't be selling Corey Horsburgh.
I've not even considered selling Corey. I own still. Plays important number this week. Plays round 16 is going to be tricky as well. Plays 18. Definitely a hold through till then. Something to prove. As you said, in New Zealand, night games in New Zealand, everyone, you're not getting many points from. The Warriors, they front up. The conditions are tough in NZ over there. They're low scoring. That's just how it's going to be. And he got binned. Without the bin, he still probably gets his 60-odd in each year. And does have the odd bit of attack in him as well. And hold for sure, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so. We'll get to him in my trades. CT. Number 5, Billy Smith. 381k, 51 point per game average, 39 break even. After that big start to his season, Spy banged out a couple of 70s, I think it was. Just not doing it. Billy Smith is scoring wise. People are selling this week. Surprised me a little bit just due to numbers. I would imagine there'd be a few people reverse trading out there with the Tommy Turbo news, with the Tommy Starling suspension and thinking they may need a number this week. But What are you're a Billy Smith owner?
You
not.
Dodged him. Yeah, I dodged the Billy bullet. I felt a little bit similar about Billy as I do with you and Aitken. I just had a feeling it just worried me a bit. Now, Billy stayed healthy, which has been awesome for him. Happy to see. He hasn't scored very well, but he's getting 40 without attack. Now, he plays every major and minor bye, all of them. So I think you are off your rocker to sell at 380k. If he can score a 90 or something in any of those weeks, which he's well capable of, you're cheering. And if he doesn't, well, he's only worth 380. You don't gain much from selling him anyway.
If he's 550k and he had a big score and he's rolling average and it was dropping out and he was about to plummet cash, maybe. But look, does he tick the box of buy around plotter? Yeah, he does. But
you already own him. That's the thing.
You already own him. Exactly. You own him. He's got great coverage. He's not worth that much. He is a good footballer. He does have points in him. They're not coming at the moment. You don't have to play him outside of those major buy rounds.
Yep.
In fact, don't if you can avoid it.
And if he was plotting and he was worth 480k, I'd say, yeah, sell.
Different.
Happy days. Make your coin off him, but you can't make much off him unless it's like even to McCarthy's 140k. Yeah, I don't see the point in so he's already scored. We say he's maybe a bit of a potter, but he went 76 and 80 his first 2 games this year. He's capable of it.
I also, to that point, I think he's a talented outside back who's, getting games under his belt after a pretty tumultuous injury run. There'll be an 80 or a 90 or a 100 where he jags a couple of tries at some point and he'll ignite some cash generation. So, as I said, don't play him each week. Play him when you have to on those bye weeks, and I think there's more in him.
I don't own him. I'll be a tad nervous on those bye weeks, not owning him. Please don't get your 90 and hurt me.
Yeah. Guys, for less than just $2 a week, you can subscribe to the SC Playbook Premium offering that gets you access to a ton of extra content and offerings across the SC Playbook network, including our WhatsApp community, extra premium articles on site each and every week, our subscriber-exclusive podcast. Last week, I took a long-term look at the prospects of key Supercoach players backing up or resting from Origin, helping to hopefully plan out your trade plans. Plenty more perks on offer too. So to check that out, go to the SC Playbook website, go to our menu and hit subscribe and support the platform. All right, Spy, trade and skipper plans for round 13. Talk to me.
All right. Where I'm at the moment is Dylan Egan straight to Keaon Kaloamatangi. That was planned from last week. I knew I could do it, which is part of the reason I got Teddy, because I knew I could lock this in the coming week. And then I'm just having a look at, Tommy Jenkins down to the one Kyle McCarthy. It'd give me $290,000. Gives me some options next week around maybe like a Toya up to a gun centre. I could turn Chanel Harris to Vita into Jaden Campbell. Give me some cash to do some things. So the other thing is with McCarthy, he'll be my 7th centre. Whilst I'd love to have 7 gun centres, you've then got other blokes on your bench who you're going to want to play.
Yeah.
Like gun fullback. So I think 7 might be too many. If you disagree, let me know. I think 6 is plenty. So why not downgrade now to someone who's playing and plays the buys? I think it might be the time to do it. Also, Jenkins is outside McLean again, as named, which isn't ideal. Because if he wasn't, I rate Jenkins.
He's a good footballer.
Yeah, isn't he ever? So I'm a smidge reluctant to sell, but again, you've got to make calls at some stages in order to fund things. So, yeah, he out for me probably for Mr. McCarthy.
Very good. For myself, look, a bit to work out. Of course, Origin may play an impact on trade plans as well. So I'll update on the SC Playbook listener question and answer podcast on Thursday. Of course, drop it in the WhatsApp as well, as Spy will too. Our trade plans, first game on Friday this week, I should say. For myself, though, Spy, I'm looking at a couple of players. Dylan Lucas, just going to have to get him back in. Making it worse, I started the bloody year with him. Anyway,
I hate that stuff. It kills me.
Piss you off. Anyway, I didn't get him, so suck it up. In for me, and then I'm looking at potentially you and 8 can play. Mm-hmm. The Sells is the interesting one. I've got Dylan Egan there, who can go, obviously. He's gone long-term, unfortunately. What do I do, and what do us Connor Tracy owners do, Spy? All signs point to... Well, not all signs. A couple of signs point to sell. He's had back-to-back scores of 18 and 27 or something ridiculous. That break-even is blown out to 142. What I will say is that, yes, it was not a good trade-in. The game in the wet was just disastrous last week. They were playing in a pool, terrible conditions for footy.
Absolute line through last weekend.
Weekend. He'd scored very well early in the season. Probably a sell. He still has the incredible buy coverage. Don't need to play him every week. He's another one where he will drop in cash, but he's worth 580k. We know he's like a 60-odd averaging player at the moment. So if I were to hold him through the bye coverage and just play him when needed for those weeks, even if he does plummet a bit in the interim, obviously he's on the bye this week, he can make cash up again later, play him round 15, round 18, maybe for any softer doggies match up in good conditions. But the other part of it is, all right, what if he comes out and he goes 20-20 again and all of a sudden he's 400k? What are your thoughts for us struggling owners?
Got a bit of Dallin or Tene Zalesniak stuff going on from last year. Were you part of that ride with me?
Of course I was.
Yeah, I lost last year, of course you were. Yep. Yeah. I remember we just kept trying to hold Dallin. He ended up 400 and then we couldn't sell him. That's different. Warriors were a team that struggled last year in attack. He didn't really look like scoring Dallin. This year for me, Connor Tracy, he's had... Let's just completely write off last week in the bloody monsoon.
Happily. I wish Supercoach would do this.
Yeah, he dropped out. They did write it off for you.
Yeah, for what it's worth, he didn't actually count towards
didn't
my
even
score.
play.
So.
Week before did struggle. Who'd they play the week before again?
Roosters.
And I can't remember that game. What happened in that game?
Doggies won 24-20.
Yep. So just an unusual low game for him there, but all the other games have been good. I think his run coming up's pretty decent. I don't think you get too caught up in cash because if you're playing for the next 6 weeks.
So comes back next week against Parramatta. They do have a lot of 3 of the next 4 at home. So Para next week. Then they have the Bunnies on the major bye and without Latrell. Bye in round 16. Penrith round 17 is tough. Broncos round 18 without Hassan Carrigan. Keep talking. I'm listening.
So 15, 14, 15, 18, 19. You're going to want to play him. 19 against the Cowboys on a good track.
Sit for the pen.
I think he's a definite hold. Like, you've got Tommy Jenkins there at 520. I'll be selling him 1,000% over Connor Tracy.
Yeah.
Hold Connor. He'll do a job for you. Hopefully can bounce back with some good scores. He works too hard not to start scoring okay again for mine.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
You'd think that, yes.
I thought the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, if it keeps getting 100 mil on game day, maybe not. But for me as a non-owner, it's much easier as a non-owner. And sometimes you wish you could speak to yourself as a non-owner and say, what would I say to someone else? I'd say, well, I'd hold, because I'm not scarred by what's happened. You just look at it in context and go, he'll score decent again. Like, I could purchase him now and I'd feel like it's a reasonable buy for the buy period. Put it like that.
Don't tell me that.
I think he's a hold, especially given your back line. If you own him out there and he's your ticket to someone you really want with upside and you've got no one else to sell, I think then it's a little bit different potentially, but he plays some major buys. He plays around 19. He's a worker.
Draw's good. Don't
know how the Galvin thing's going to play out with combinations and that, but it's kind of Tracy. He runs hard and he's not exactly a finessing player as such. So I think he's a hold for sure. That's just my opinion.
Yes. So big decision to make this week around Connor Tracy. I'll see what happens from Origin because, I mean, it might be a scenario where one of my Origin players gets injured and I sell them before and I just hold anyway. So a bit to play out there. Matty, the Waterboy, what are you looking at this week, mate?
Yeah, I want to get Kolmatangi in. I'm trying to figure out a way how to do that. I think I spoke to you before show about who I could possibly get in. I wish Latu Finer was playing this week because
make it easy.
That'll make it easy, but he's not. I don't really want to get King Tonga in.
You can get Latu now though.
I could, and that's the thing. I'll have to see if I've got a full team this week. And at the moment I do, but just with Munster, I've got Haas. So I'm gonna have to hold until to Origin and kind of see what happens. But I want to get Kolmatangi in.
Yeah. What about skippers, mate? Have you had a look at that, or we seen how things play out?
I will probably just go Terrell May.
Yeah.
because he's going to get up. Yeah, he's not happy.
Yeah, so I want Keaon, obviously, but I just, because of Dylan Lucas, having to pay out for him.
Hard to get both.
I do have 215k in my bank. I was like 5k or 10k, something stupid short of going Tracy and Egan out for Lucas and Kalama-Tungi. I was like, oh, it would have been so easy, but not to be. So I can only have one of them. Captain Spy.
Interesting. VC, I'm back to my favourite play this weekend. Ryan Papenhuyzen Sadiavo VC. And then about 2.5 hours later, if he hasn't lit it up, I'll be going Terrell May. I think it's just as easy as that this weekend. There's also the option to do, of course, Drinky on the bounce back. Who do they play? They've got the Tigers up at Townsville. It's a great play as well, 5:30. But I just think the form Terrell's in and the desire and the bench with that Tigers side, he's probably playing 80 again. it's hard not to go past him. So throw it on one of the boys that plays earlier in the weekend and see what happens, or go into him.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the exact same. Pappenhausen into Terrell. Nathan Cleary does interest me against Parramatta. But the 4-day turnaround, there is the hammy concern with Cleary as well. And as you said, I just think with Terrell at the moment, such a point to prove. He's got a bit of an FU to everyone in Blues camp at the moment, trying to say, you should have picked him.
This is what you're missing, boys.
If the Blues lose, he'll do this is why you should have picked me. And if they win, it'll be all right, now I need to go extra hard to get into this team. He just looks safe as houses, doesn't he? So I'm thinking the same, mate. VC Pap into Terrell.
I reckon he'll have 8 offloads this weekend as well. Dry conditions, hopefully.
I'm going to have a relatively free crack at the VC loop as well. So
I think a lot of us will. Even myself, I only need to not play Robert Toya if Pap goes off, which
what would you take?
What would I take? Ooh, on the spot, I'd take probably 90 plus. More than 90.
I was thinking the exact same.
Yep.
Originally I was thinking triple figures, then I'm like, that's a bit greedy. So I think 90. I wouldn't take less than 90. I think Terrell comes out and goes big.
Yep.
With a free loop, 85, there's a question mark at.
If it's absolutely free, I'd take about 85.
I think mine will be free. So I'd probably near lock in 85. All right, a few questions, then we'll wrap it up. One bit Origin related, this one. One from Blake Stevens. Spy, what's your first memory of Origin football and your favourite memory of Origin?
I was trying to figure this out because obviously quite young. I vaguely remember watching a game up at our uncle's, Uncle Freddie's and Auntie Ree's. I looked up what year it was. You were 1 year old, and it was 2-0 to Queensland because I remember watching it going, whoa, this is going to be 0-0. This is crazy. And it fits my timeline of when I really started to love my footy, which is around 5 or 6, 95. So I think that's my earliest flicker of a memory rather than just a moment. And my favourite memory, that's easy, mate, playing footy with you, Sambo, and our mates Mooney and Co in the backyard on a cold and frosty Cooma night, Origin night. Literally frost on the grass, Matty. We'd just go out at half-time, 15 minutes of footy, rip into each other as hard as we could back for the second half.
It was great.
How good. Doesn't get better than that.
Bring it back.
Yeah, we should actually.
Matty, what about yourself?
This is Origin.
Yep.
I was trying to think of the first game, and I can't really remember, but the first real Origin experience that I've had is going to the Harvey Norman just here, and the whole Blues team was there, including Phil Gould, and I had a jersey, and I got them all to autograph the whole thing. I clearly remember Andrew Johns, Anthony Minicello, Danny Badiris. Phil Gould didn't sign it, but he was there, and I've still got the jersey at home.
Oh, stop it.
Yep.
That's beautiful. For myself, it's been an interesting one. So I thought for a long, long time, longer than I care to admit, that the Mark Coyne famous Maroons try was my first memory. I've got vivid recollections of watching him score that try.
Yeah.
And then I honestly reckon I was about 13 years old, or maybe even about 15 years old. And it sort of clicked to me that I did a bit of digging into it. And I was 5 weeks old at the time.
Well, you would have vividly watched it with us.
Yeah, and
you probably can't remember it.
It would have impacted me that deep that, maybe I did remember it. So I think the old Melon got that one a bit mixed up. So I don't actually know what my first memory was because I thought it was that. And my favourite memory of Origin was 19. I was on holidays. I was in the Mediterranean Sea in Croatia. I was on a boat with Sail Croatia, and they had about 50 boats lined up together. I was with one of my best mates. We had 5 legendary Kiwi girls on our boat with us who didn't give a rat's about footy, and I G'd them up all week about Origin, the decider. We would blow deck. Thankfully, we got it up on the iPad, and we somehow got some reception. Watched the game there, and it was when Teddy scored the match winner to win us the shield.
Incredible.
And everyone just went nuts. Shots were flying. Went back out. Red Bull had this parachute to land in the middle of all the boats 5 minutes after. It was like they knew it was going on. It was just the happiest moment of my life, let alone Origin moment.
That easily sounds like the best thing that could ever happen to anyone. That's unbelievable.
The best day of my life. And will not be beaten.
Wow.
All right. Back to Supercoach. One from Paul Birdie. Is Tom Starling a hold or a trade out? He'll miss this week due to suspension. plays 14, then misses round 15. What are your thoughts, Spy?
Yeah, I own him. Definitely not looking to sell, especially with how hookers are shaping up at the moment. Again, if you really are really short and you want to move him on to someone who you think can do a job, maybe. But, I mean, he's going well, Tommy, at the moment. I'll sell when the time is right, but I don't think it's now.
Hang tight. I sold him a while ago, and it was to get, I think, Nathan Cleary into my team. So I had Sandon at halfback. So that was fine. But every week since, I've been like, oh, geez, he's been an easy hold for owners there. Going well, playing big minutes. I will say, Owen Paddy starting this week, you don't want him going too well to eat into a few minutes.
Yep.
Not that Starlow's not going to play big minutes.
Might be selling him next week if Owen kills it.
The thing is, though, even if Owen Paddy does kill it and finds his way into a few extra minutes, Starlow's been playing a bit of 13 with Paddy on the field.
Yep.
So it might not matter too much.
It.
Question from Jordan Brighton. When do I look to sell Luke Metcalf? Doesn't play any of the remaining major buys and he's plotting at around 45 to 60. What are your thoughts for Metcalf owns their Spy?
Just keeps scoring all right, doesn't he? Buy period's done for him, though. He's half and 5'8", isn't he? If he's in your halfback position, he'd be a sell. If he's in your 5'8", I mean, if you get him to a Jaden Campbell or something like that, I'd be doing that. But outside of Jaden...
Averaging 59, 5 round average of 65 with the ton a few back.
Can hold another week or two and reassess come round 15 when he's got the bye.
Yeah, so he's scoring well. He's got a low scoring the last sort of 8 weeks of 47. Had the one ton, but outside that a high of 59. So it's...
steady.
Yeah, it's not doing much wrong.
I don't think he's an urgent hold by any means, but he's not an urgent sell.
Maybe Metcalf to sort of Jaden Campbell round 15 could be the play.
Yeah, I think that's the go.
Question...
What about the Kane Wilson one? I've got the phone ready to ask.
Oh, okay.
Should we call her?
Question from Kane Wilson. Who is Mrs. Williams' favourite son? You, me or Sam?
I've literally got her on speed dial.
Don't get Trishy on the podcast. Like, it'll rattle the shit out
It
of her.
will rattle her bad.
Who's the golden child?
Who do you reckon?
Probably Sam.
No way, he's third.
Really?
Yeah. It's me or you.
Oh. Maybe me then.
Give me a week to think about it.
I think it's me.
You looked after it pretty well in recent years while we were busy, so maybe it is you. Maybe you've just snuck ahead.
I'm also the youngest, so that always plays a big role, doesn't it?
Definitely. It's got to. I'll have a think about it.
Find
Get back
out.
to you, yeah.
We'll ask her.
Ask her.
See if we get a point blank answer.
Nah, it'll be a draw.
Get
It's
a few
draw.
shardies into him, which will give us an answer.
Yeah, it's a draw.
Question, this is a good one, from Sam, not Williams. Hello, fellas. Thinking of trading out Nico Hines for Jerome Hughes. Hear me out, he says. Hughes' next 2 games of Titans and Cows, and then sell Cleary back to Hines in round 15. I was always going to sell Cleary round 15 anyway, so it only cost me 1 extra trade.
Using my line of thinking there, I love it.
He is.
Can we just etch this out a bit? So what is it? We got trading out. Hines goes, Hughesy in, sure. Hughesy gets his good couple of games. Love that.
Great games.
Cleary back to Hines. So using one trade in order to try and maximise Hughesy.
I don't mind it. Let me just have a
Who
look
does
at
Nico
Yeah, I know,
play?
I was just about to say the same. What's the show? So they've got the bye this week, and then
Doesn't
they
play this
play
week.
the
New Zealand,
Warriors
who are
at
going
Sharp
alright.
Park. Not ideal.
Yeah,
I don't mind it.
I mean, it's that kind of thinking that
Put it this way, like I kind of want Jerome Hughes, but I'm not going to sell Cleary to him.
the
I don't mind it.
the one trade scenario. So and then you'll get Cleary back down the line. So it kind of works out 2 trades in the end if you were just to hold Cleary and not get Hughes. That's the
But
only
because
thing.
you're going to get Cleary back, it's a long way away.
Going to get him back anyway. Yeah, look, it's the kind of thinking that I can get around. I'll back it in.
Great fixtures for both the Panthers and Storm next 2
Yeah.
weeks. Don't hate it.
I'd never put it like this. I would never say to someone, "Don't do that." I'd be like, if you want to do that, go for it.
Good thinking.
Yep.
One from Michael Joseph. Is it worth punting Tamale? 52 bracket. It says 52 points in runs and tackle bust last week for a keeper, e.g. Eli Katoa, so worth some jewels there. Or keep for the Raiders, insanely juicy run home. Spy, Tamale, he just finds a way. What do you think? Do you
He's just
reckon-
so fit on the weekend because I don't own him anymore. He's late surges. He finds late tackle busts and line breaks. But in saying that, again, it's hard to know without knowing your side. But if you're getting Eli Katoa, I'd say Eli Katoa for sure.
Yeah.
Providing there isn't someone else you can sell to Eli. But I mean, I think Tamale's rock solid, and as you said, he finds a way. But what's his highest score of the year? He scored an 89. just that left edge for the Raiders.
Upside limited on the left wing.
That's his only issue. He has to find a way because he's so good at doing it, but he's not someone who just strolls over for 2 and 3 tries.
If he ever decides not to have a crack in a game and not go looking for this enormous amount of ball and bust tackles, he'll get 15. Like, he has a 35, a 29, a 25. His position's cemented, but he's just fired. He's playing good footy.
Does play around 16 and 18, which are pretty handy. So, look, I would never be rushing to get rid of him, but if you really want Ellie and that's your way to him, then I can understand why.
Alrighty, that'll do us for the SC Playbook podcast for round 13. Spite, thank you, mate.
Cheers, boys.
Thanks, guys. Good luck to the Mighty Blues in Origin, of course, or Queensland if you're a Queenslander out there as well. Enjoy the footy first and foremost. Have a good week.